similarly applied to other target groups of the Nazi regime, among them gypsies, homosexuals, and persons of color. A special group consisted of the offspring of mixed Jewish-Aryan marriages, called Mischlinge, or mixed breeds. Noted Holocaust historian Roslyn Abt is known for his exhaustive treatment of the people designated by Hitler as Mischling, literally mongrels or mixed breeds. As the daughter of a Jewish father and a Christian mother, Ingeborg Hecht falls into this category. Indeed, Hecht's focus on her categorization as a Mischling ersten Grades, or a half-Jew, makes her memoir unique. Discrimination and restrictions against the Mischlinge, this third race, known that way during the regime, varied in kind and intensity from the adoption of the Nuremberg laws in 1935 until the very end of the war. As time went on, discrimination and restrictions escalated and intensified. Various plans to sterilize, deport, and eventually murder the Mischlinge were proposed and implemented, for they, quote-unquote, posed problems to Hitler's state, and the Mischlinge were considered, quote-unquote, unfinished business in the context of Hitler's final solution. Quote, no solution could really be final unless the Mischling problem was also solved. Hecht focuses throughout her memoir on her mother Edith's ordeals and courage as the Christian wife of her Jewish husband, Felix. They happened to divorce prior to 1935 and thought that the divorce would protect their two children, Ingeborg and Wolfgang, from harm once Hitler came to power. Instead, they were unable to benefit from the privileged mixed matrimony decree that was part of the 1935 Nuremberg laws. In 1944, Felix Hecht was murdered in Auschwitz. Edith was forced to flee and go into hiding in Staufen in southwest Germany with her daughter Ingeborg to escape persecution. Wolfgang eventually fled to Argentina, but for a long time remained in Hamburg, hoping that his father would return. In early 1945, Ingeborg Hecht was identified by the Gestapo in Lörrach. This identification occurred as a matter of course, automatically, because it was a time when Mischlinge were also to be eliminated. Since 1935, there had been a list available of all Mischlinge living in Germany. In February 1945, therefore, a Gestapo employee appeared with a draft notice for Ingeborg Hecht. Mischlinge were eligible for the draft. At that time, barely recovering from recent illness, the author was incapable of complying even if she had wanted to. The man said that he would return for her in 3 weeks. How come, I asked. This is her quotation. I come from a privileged mixed marriage and am half Aryan. His glance was as unforgettable as his response. Half Aryan, half Jewish, the same as Jewish. The man's threat to return in 3 weeks never materialized. Liberation. On April 23, 1945, she writes, my mother's 45th birthday, the French entered Staufen. From this day forward, the invisible walls, which had been erected between us and the others, could come down slowly, but it was not easy. The last poignant paragraph of the memoir expresses Hecht's deep reflections and profound sadness to this day, and provides an important context for my mother's story and my own reflections as the daughter of survivors. Quote, we were stripped of our rights, denied the opportunity to train for worthwhile professions, prevented from building up a livelihood, forbidden to marry. We shared the fears of those who failed to survive persecution, but we also had to endure the shame of having fared better than our fathers, our relations, our friends. We did not emerge unscathed. Hecht's second book continues her experience and saga. Julie Allen writes, quote, Hecht's Invisible Walls is significant in its own right, but it becomes even more interesting when examined along with a second book she published in 1991. Hecht reflects on the resonance her memoirs found with her readers and the effect that their publication had on her own life. In the second book, she discusses letters from and meetings with readers, her thoughts about confronting the past, and her feelings of guilt at surviving, particularly in light of her father's death at Auschwitz. One such meeting, which occurred as a result of the publication of Hecht's first book, was that with my family, referenced earlier and documented in her second book, To Remember is to Heal. Quote, "It has become customary in Germany to invite émigrés to visit their former hometowns, a practice I first learned about in an article that appeared in Die Welt on May 10, 1984. And this is a quotation from the article. "Visitors rediscover past, harbor no ill feelings. On this occasion, there were 30 guests from Britain, the United States, and Israel. For Goldie Abt, Hamburg was just the first stop during her trip to Germany. After her stay in the city on the Elbe, she will be picked up by her daughter who resides in Freiburg." Hecht continues, "Like all other guests of the city of Hamburg, Frau Abt was presented with a copy of Invisible Walls, a practice that I naturally found flattering. Fortunately for both of us, she learned from my book that I too lived in Freiburg, where her daughter Roslyn, a professor at Wayne State University in Detroit, had come in August 1983 to spend her sabbatical leave and accompany her husband, Professor Marvin Schindler, who also taught at Wayne State. In addition to his teaching responsibilities, he headed the school's junior year in Germany office and was in charge of the junior year in Freiburg program for that academic year. The main focus of Roslyn's research is post-war German literature dealing with the Holocaust. She therefore found my book an important resource. After she read it, we often worked together. This connection to Hecht, of course, and to my mother has special meaning for my own continuing journey as a second-generation survivor." Shattered by her Holocaust experiences, Ingeborg Hecht literally withdrew from the outside world for decades, a prisoner in her own apartment. Hecht's whole existence emanated from her Freiburg apartment, including her work as a publicist and author. Besides her Holocaust memoir and the follow-up work documenting the effects of her book, Hecht has written many cultural histories and chronicles, particularly about people, places, and events in southwest Germany, her elected homeland. Moreover, she has been a journalist for many years for West German radio and newspaper. Only in the last several decades, since the publication of her memoirs, has the author really been capable of rejoining humanity on the outside. She has given public appearances, especially readings at schools. She is a member of organizations that promote Christian-Jewish understanding and also attempt to prevent political extremists from gaining power again. And she is heartened by the boundaries that she feels are being bridged, if not transcended, in contemporary Germany. The writing of the book was the catalyst for this metamorphosis in her being and her journey to her new life, and that despite piercing, ever-present memories of her tragedy, which includes also the loss of her only child, her daughter Barbara, in 1977, from an aneurysm. The writing of the books and the aftermath helped her discharge a burden and overcome her agoraphobia. Ingeborg Hecht rejoined the world with a renewed and courageous spirit. Irene Reddy, co-editor and author of The Oral History of Thea Felix Aden, a memoir of a woman who also experienced the Nazi work camp Szwazi in Poland that my mother did, writes, quote, "I can begin to imagine a time when there will be no one left to tell the story, to say, I was there, and this is how it was. We who were not there are challenged to listen deeply